Hey there, it's CJ Willie, and I'm cracking a pack. Today I have in front of me a Throne of Eldraine booster pack. Hopefully I'll be able to pull something really awesome from the pack. As usual, my viewpoint will be from a very casual Magic the Gathering player perspective. It will not be a Pro Tour grinder or even Friday Night Magic grinder take. It will be a kitchen table game of Magic, having fun with friends' opinion. Let's get to cracking this pack. Lonesome Unicorn, 5 mana, 4 and a white, Unicorn at 3/3. It has Vigilance. It's also one of the cards that has Adventure. Rider in Need, 3 mana, 2 and a white, Sorcery Adventure. Create a 2/2 white knight creature token with Vigilance. You were able to get 5/5 worth of stats over 2 bodies. With both creatures having Vigilance, it's set up for a little bit longer of a game. Witching Well, single blue mana artifact. When Witching Well enters the battlefield, scry 2. You can pay 3 and a blue, sacrifice Witching Well, draw 2 cards. You could set up your early turns, and then later on in the game, you're able to draw 2 cards. For 5 mana, that seems to be a little costly, but spread out over the game, it's not too bad of a strategy. 7 Dwarfs, 2 mana, 1 and a red, Dwarf at 2/2. 7 Dwarfs gets +1/+1 for each other creature named 7 Dwarfs you control. A deck can have up to 7 cards named 7 Dwarfs. In Limited, this was a lot of fun. If no one was going in red and you had your pick of 7 Dwarfs, it was very possible you could get 2 to 3 Dwarfs. And for 2 mana, having 3 3s or 4 4s is a pretty good rate. Fairy Guide Mother, single white mana, fairy at 1/1. It has flying. It also has an adventure, Gift of the Fae, 2 mana, 1 and a white, sorcery. Target creature gets +2/+1 and gains flying until end of turn. You could either have a 1/1 flyer right out of the gate, or you could give one of your other creatures flying and then have a 1/1 flyer body left over. Garen Briggs Squire, 2 mana, 1 and a green, human soldier at 2/2. Whenever you cast a creature spell that has adventure, Garen Briggs Squire gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Even in a white-green adventures deck, for most of the time, Garen Briggs Squire was just a 2/2 for 2. Smitten Swordmaster, 2 mana, 1 and a black, human knight at 2/1. It has lifelink. It also has an adventure. Curry Favor, for a single black mana, you gain X life and each opponent loses X life, where X is the number of knights you control. This was a must include in any knight deck you were playing, whether that was white-black, red-black, or even if you went Mardu Knights. Smitten Swordmaster was definitely a card that you could play later on the game when you had knights on board, and even as a knight later on in the game, having lifelink and being able to put an equipment on it or an enchantment made it a stronger card. Red Cap Raiders, 3 mana, 2 and a red, Goblin Warrior at 3/2. Whenever Red Cap Raiders attacks, you may tap an untapped non-human creature you control. If you do, Red Cap Raiders gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. In a very aggressive red deck, coming down as a 3/2 for 3 mana is good stats. Being able to make it a 4/3 trampler makes the card even better later on in the game. Gingerbread Cabin, it's a forest. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other forests. When Gingerbread Cabin enters the battlefield untapped, create a food token. There's a cycle of common lands. They weren't basic, but they had the land type. That if you had 3 or more of the land type, they'd enter untapped, and if they did, you had an added bonus. Gingerbread Cabin fit better into a food deck where you were taking advantage of food as part of your game plan. Wicked Guardian, 4 mana, 3 and a black, human noble at 4/2. When Wicked Guardian enters the battlefield, you may have it deal 2 damage to another creature you control. If you do, draw a card. In Limited, this never really panned out. It didn't seem to be as powerful as some of the other card draw spells in black where you lose life to draw a card. Blow Your House Down, 3 mana, 2 and a red, sorcery. Up to 3 target creatures can't block this turn. Destroy any of them that are walls. In a go wide red strategy where you need to get those last points damage in, maybe it made sense, but it just seemed to be a card that was easily cuttable. First uncommon is Elite Headhunter, 4 mana. It has Rakdos Hybrid mana, black red, black red, black red, black red. Human Knight at 2/3. has Menace. You can pay 3 Rakdos hybrid mana, sacrifice another creature or an artifact. Elite Headhunter had the ability to fling something to deal damage to a creature or a planeswalker. I didn't feel it was as strong as some of the other hybrid colored paired uncommons. Archon of Absolution, 4 mana, 3 and a white. Archon at 3/2 as flying, as protection from white. Creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless your controller pays 1 generic for each of those creatures. A 3/2 for 4 mana flyer is already great stats. This card fit really well into a more controlling type of deck where you wanted to shut down your opponent's ability to attack you. Final uncommon is Oakham Adversary, 4 mana, 3 and a green, Elf Warrior at 2/3. This spell costs 2 generic less to cast if an opponent controls a green permanent. Has Death Touch. Whenever Oakham Adversary deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. This card looked a lot better than it really was. Even with Death Touch, it was still really hard to get damage through. You had to get extremely lucky and hope that your opponent was playing green so you could cast this on turn 2 and then maybe get in 2 turns of damage where you'd be able to draw a card. Okay, will we get a great rare or mythic rare? We have a mythic. This is awesome. We have Garruk, Cursed Huntsman, 6 mana, 4 generic, 1 black, 1 green, legendary planeswalker Garruk. It has 5 loyalty counters to start. For 0 loyalty counters, create 2/2 black and green wolf creature tokens. When this creature dies, put a loyalty counter on each Garruk you control. For -3, destroy target creature, draw a card. -6, you get an emblem with creatures you control get +3/+3 and have trample. In limited, this was a bomb. You'd set up your deck to be able to cast Garruk on turn 6. It protects itself by putting down 2/2 wolves. Once it came down, if your opponent didn't have an answer, Garruk obviously took over the game. Then we have a Plains and On an Adventure. Hands down, my favorite card is Garruk. I don't get to play with too many planeswalkers. In our play group, we don't go out of our way to buy a lot of expensive cards. Whatever we open in packs, we put into decks. This is a card that I definitely want to play in Constructed. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like it, please subscribe and share. Take some time to tell me in the comment section what was your favorite card or the best card of the pack. Until next time when I'm back to crack my next pack of Magic the Gathering.